Hi everyone. Meet again with movie recap here. Today we're going to tell the story of a mermaid who fell in love with a lifeguard. Let's just start the story. The two women, Claire and Hailey, they were peeking at a lifeguard named Raymond who became the dream of the women on the beach. Claire and Hailey had a small argument about who was Raymond's girlfriend later in life. But they suddenly stopped arguing and they saw a group of women coming and acting flirtatiously in the presence of Raymond to get his attention. One of them is named Cecilia. She is the most flirtatious among her group. Claire and Hailey finally rushed to go home because they were worried about seeing her. That night, Claire invites Hailey to stay at her house for the last time, because soon Hailey will move to Australia with her family. As they both sat in the darkness, Hailey prayed that her family would be unable to move. Suddenly the heavens seemed to answer her prayer and a storm of the sea came. Claire and Hailey were terrified. Suddenly a shadow opened the door. It made them scream, but apparently it was Claire's grandmother and they laughed. In the morning, Claire and Hailey woke up from a deep sleep caused by a noise outside. Then they approached the commotion, and it turned out they found Raymond and his friends were cleaning a messy swimming pool caused by the storm last night. Suddenly, Claire saw something luminous in the pool. She approached the light source until she slipped. Raymond, who saw it, immediately plunged into the water to save her. When Claire was in the water, she saw a pair of eyeballs that lit up and made her scream in the water. Raymond confirmed Claire's condition after drowning, which thankfully is fine, after Claire and Hailey came home.
Whoa, come on!
While on the way, Claire told Hailey that she saw something strange in the pool. But Hailey ignored her. Claire again spoke in a serious tone that what she saw was real. Finally, Hailey also believed Claire's words and decided to go to the pool again at night. The next night they met again and started to enter the pool area by sneaking. They then threw food into the pool hoping something came to the surface, but that didn't happen. Hailey, who started to look upset, stood up and accidentally dropped her candy, fell into the pool. Shortly thereafter the pool gave off a light. There appeared a mermaid with her tail that was sea blue approaching the two of them. Apparently the mermaid really likes Hailey's candy. Seeing that, Claire and Hailey were shocked and took a step back. But slowly, they ventured to get closer to the mermaid. Hailey asked if she could touch her tail. And the mermaid allowed it. Then the three of them talked lightly, not to forget to be interspersed with jokes. Before returning home, the mermaid begged them to visit her again tomorrow. Claire and Hailey agreed to the mermaid's wishes and they rushed away from her.
Leonard, we have to go. He's a total psycho. You'll die.
The next day they came to the pool again, but they found a pool curator. They panicked and immediately looked for a mermaid last night. It turned out that she was hiding in a warehouse there. Claire and Hailey asked where her tail was going, and she said that during the day she could put her feet on until sunset. But still, if exposed to water, then the tail will be seen later. With her naked appearance, making both of them feel upset, so Hailey took off her outer clothes and gave it to the mermaid for her use. They talk again in Claire's room and the mermaid introduces herself by the name Aquamarine. The three of them also talked until the shells on the table sounded like phone ringtones. Aquamarine picked the shell up to her ear as if it were a phone, and it turned out that the caller across there was her father. The sound of her father's tantrum Aquamarine, because it turns out Aquamarine ran away from her house under the sea to avoid the matchmaking event with the Prince of Squid. Her father gave 3 days to prove that love really existed, because for her family love was just nonsense. And if in those 3 days she still has not found her love, then she will be forced back to her habitat by her father. Suddenly Aquamarine looked outside and found Raymond talking to his friend. And Aquamarine said it seemed like her true love, and just snapped. Claire and Hailey also said no, because as we know they also love Raymond. Then Aquamarine went to Raymond and said, "Hi." Raymond, who saw Aquamarine for the first time, could only smile. Shortly thereafter Raymond was invited away by his friend. He left Aquamarine. By putting on an upset face, Aquamarine turned back to Claire and Hailey. Aquamarine says that if Claire and Hailey can help her get her love, she will grant any wish. Then Claire and Hailey thought it was a good idea, and then they agreed to help Aquamarine to get Raymond's love. They began their mission.
Do what Liz D from Skokie suggests.
Claire and Hailey can only watch from a distance. Aquamarine saw a cotton candy seller. Raymond also offered her the candy. But Aquamarine does not consider it food, so she just rubs it into her face. Hailey, who saw it, said in a slightly loud tone to be heard by Aquamarine that it was food. Aquamarine immediately tried to eat it, and Raymond showed signs of liking her that made Claire and Hailey happy. Then Raymond invited Aquamarine to ride a duck boat on the shore of the lake. They both pedaled the duck boat casually, and Raymond asked Aquamarine, "Will you go to the weekend party tomorrow?" But before Aquamarine replied, Claire and Hailey shouted from a distance to tell her that the sun was about to set. They suddenly made Aquamarine panic and then pedal very quickly. Arriving at the shore of the lake, the three of them left Raymond, who was still in the duck boat, with a look of wonder. Claire and Hailey intend to hide Aquamarine in a water tower at night. Their Aquamarine told them that she was invited to date Raymond. Both of them screamed hysterically because it turned out that the mission to help Aquamarine was successful. The party began. Raymond was seen looking for Aquamarine. And when the two of them met, Raymond invited the Aquamarine into a cafe. Cecilia, who saw it, was upset to want to approach them both, but was prevented by Claire and Hailey. It does not feel like the sun will sink again, making Aquamarine forced to go home immediately even though the event is not finished. Raymond looked a little disappointed, but he could still forgive her. The three of them went back to the water tower. And it was followed by Cecilia and her friends. Cecilia got out of the car and went to the water tower to check on Aquamarine. Arriving above, Cecilia was surprised to see Aquamarine, who had turned into a mermaid. She immediately went down and reported it to her father. The next day the reporters came to the water tower to cover the Aquamarine on the grounds that there were people trapped in the tower. But rescuers found no one in there. Cecilia shouted in front of the camera that there was a mermaid in there. Of course everyone there just laughed and thought it was. Then the Aquamarine survivor meets Raymond and asks if Raymond loves her or not. Raymond's answer was no. That makes Aquamarine disappointed, even though Raymond does not mean so. He just wants to get closer first. Unexpectedly, Cecilia appeared and pushed the Aquamarine until it fell into the sea, and instantly Aquamarine turned into a mermaid. Then the sky turned dark and a sea storm appeared due to the actions of Aquamarine's father, who knew that she failed to find her love and bring it back into the sea. Claire and Hailey follow Aquamarine and say that they love Aquamarine. Then the sky suddenly cleared again and the storm disappeared. The three of them were very happy and hugged. Suddenly Raymond appeared using a skateboard, then Claire and Hailey left them both. Raymond did not think that Aquamarine is a mermaid. But because he actually loved her, Raymond ignored it and they kissed. And this story ends. Okay, that's the story of the movie Aquamarine. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe also if not. Thank you for watching, see you in the next video.